what are your thoughts on seed oils? I've been hearing a lot of uh, stuff and all the things that I read and research about just how awful they are for you, the linoleic acid specifically. But they're in everything, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I just kind of wanted to get your opinion on seed oils in general.
Okay. I believe we've recently made a video about this. Um, it was more of a from an essential fatty acid standpoint. And so, the really what it boils down to is the essential fatty acid aspect of the seed oils. So essential fatty acids, the word essential means we must eat them because we can't make them. Okay. And so the essential fatty acids are the omega 6s and the omega 3s. And omega 6s are pro inflammatory, and omega 3s are anti inflammatory. And so, people will say, oh, these are the good ones. And they'll call the omega 6s the bad ones. And again, those aren't good terms because they're both essential, right? If you don't get if you don't get the omega 6s, you're not going to be healthy because they're essential and we don't get them unless we eat them. If you don't get enough omega 3s, you're not going to be healthy or optimally healthy because they're essential and we don't get them unless we consume them. The omega 3s come from grass fed meats, wild caught cold water fish, chia, and flax. But the chia and flax are weak because we have to convert the omegas from those, and we're not super efficient at doing that. So the grass-fed meats and fish are going to be the best source for you there. The pro-inflammatory omega 6s are everywhere in America, but seed oils, cookies, crackers, nuts, uh, uh, breads, all that. But probably in the typical diet, seed oils, the seed oils and the nuts are the biggest source. And because most of America eat a standard American diet, which is the SAD diet, okay, this is very high in sunflower oil and safflower oil and peanut oil and canola oil, which is uh, not necessarily even a real plant. Um, and there's many, many more. So we can just go like that. And so if we're eating processed foods and we're eating fried foods and we're eating, basically industrial foods, they're going to have high amounts of the seed oils. And those seed oils are going to be omega 6 dominant. And those omega 6 dominant oils are pro inflammatory. And when you're too inflamed, that increases your risk of heart disease and cancer and pain and autoimmunity and everything bad. So it's not so much that the seed oils in and of themselves are bad, Kevin, as it is that if you're eating the standard American diet, you're just dominant here. And the standard American diet has teeny tiny amounts of this, right? So then your ratio is just way imbalanced, right? And so you can test your we can test your omega 6 to omega 3 ratio, or look at arachidonic acid, which is one of the parent omega 6s, to your EPA, which is parent omega 3 ratio. And in hunter gatherer research, it should be 1 to 1 to about 4 to 1 is the ratio they see in hunter gatherers. And Americans, it's like 40 to 1 on average. And what does America look like? That. Does that stimulate any other questions, Kevin?
Um, yes, kind of a follow up to that. So I asked you this question in the context of nutrition.
Yep.
Um, what about in the context of, say, for example, you're going to the beach, you'll spray on argan oil or, whatever sunblock you use, and that
Yep.
also has sometimes has seed oils.
Mhm.
Does that change the conversation at all in terms of not using those kinds of sprays?
I think it. I think it would most cases have almost no impact. Like the spray that you're putting on for your day at the beach isn't going to tip you, you know, one way or the other.
So, okay, sounds
Makes
good.
sense. So like you're using it so infrequently and at such a small amount that I mean the I guess theoretically it could tip you over if you've taken in you were skating just beneath the surface with enough that you weren't symptomatic yet, and then you're the unlucky guy that your spray took you over the edge and now I'm
Sure.
symptomatic. But you know, in the average person, 99.9 plus percent of the source of their bad seed oil levels is going to be their diet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. No, and I mean it's in everything. I mean, literally, you could pick up anything at the grocery store and it has them. It's just
Yeah, yeah. That's because the grocery store is almost all processed. And even the and notice, over here with the anti-inflammatory, we said grass-fed meats because over here, the third one would be we have seed oils, we have nuts, and then we have industrial meats. So if you're eating a cow that was raised in a feedlot in Kansas and has never stepped on grass, okay, they fed it corn and soy and alfalfa and quote unquote vegetarian fed its whole life. Um, those things are pro-inflammatory to the cow. So it changes the cow's ratio from anti-inflammatory. If it had eaten how nature or God intended it, it grew up on grass and ate grass, it's going to be an anti-inflammatory omega-3 weighted cow. It grows up in a feedlot in Kansas, never touches grass. It's going to be pro-inflammatory cow. And they do that because the cow is heavier and you get more money per pound, but the cow is also obese, heart disease, cancer, etc. So if you eat that cow, what does that promote in you?
sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So would you say that in general, while yes, they are essential, it would be helpful to try to stay away from them in general?
No, no, I don't think it's, again, they're essential. We need them. Okay. You can't be healthy without them. What you want to do is just create balance between your 6 and 3 intake. So, if a person's ratio looks like this, their seesaw looks like this, then this person would need to raise their threes and or decrease their sixes to make the seesaw balanced. Does that make sense?
Sure, sure. Yeah.
And so I test this regularly in people because it is such a big deal. And so sometimes there's people with normal omega-6 levels and it's their omega-3s that are low. So that person doesn't have to change their omega-6 intake at all. It's, hey, you got to get your threes up. Whereas we might see someone with high omega-6s, so their sixes are lab high, their arachidonic acid, their linoleic acid, those are all high and their threes are low. Then they need to decrease their 6 intake and up their threes. It's very rare that you see someone with optimal threes at all, just walking in at the first visit. But I guess there's people out there probably that have normal threes and just high sixes, and so that person would have to just decrease their 6 intake.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you
Makes
you
sense.
you can go back on your initial testing and look at yours and see which seesaw is yours.
That's exactly what I was thinking.